Hi there, Agile friends. I'll come in here just with a quick note to let you know that the Agile Online Summit 2022 is coming soon. To know more, check out bit.ly/AOS2022. That's all one word, all lowercase, bit.ly/AOS2022. Now, stick around to the end of the episode if you want to know more, but for now, on to the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday and Change Leadership episode this week with Robbie Ross. Hey, Robbie, welcome back.
Thank you. Great to be back.
Absolutely. And as Robbie said yesterday, welcome back, everybody. Nicely put. So, change leadership. Now, of course, we're also talking about change management, but we want to take the perspective as Scrum Masters that we are very often working with change, and it is expected from us that we take the lead. We help others go through a change process. And that's the kind of story we want to hear from you, Robbie. Walk us through that change process that you were a part of, and then highlight for us, as you tell the story of that change process, the tips, the tricks, the tools, the techniques you learned back then that you still apply today.
Yeah, so firstly, organizational change is very difficult, and it's certainly not an overnight accomplishment. But no matter what engagement I or any of the team are involved in, we always try and maintain what I've read previously is the 3 C's of change leadership, which is communicate, collaborate, and commit. Now, I can't remember whose research this was, so apologies if I plagiarize anything, but it's easy to try and essentially bring in that process and people together, communicate, collaborate, commit. An example I'd like to share with you that kind of enforces this 3's approach is the change itself is relatively small adjustment, but it had a big impact on the teams. I'm hoping many of the listeners as well to the podcast can add this to the toolbox. So whilst this change can happen immediately, the benefits are only visible over time. Now, in context, the organization was quite large and consisted of many teams across all, delivering different work streams and delivering at the same time, all very capable teams and delivering really good value to the end users. The dilemma that we had was that many of the parent to your user story, so the epics or the features, they often grew in size and we didn't regularly achieve what we originally set out to do. It kind of lost the ability to a degree to iteratively improve within that area. The team were often faced with challenges that they hadn't considered, nor had the right information to do something about it. But, be it architectural design, any technical or release problems that we did have. And this affected the ability to meet the sprint goals and certain milestones. We didn't have that common understanding of what was being delivered. So we looked at certain things to do. One of the changes that we brought, and I'm sure a lot of this listeners will be familiar with this, is the 3 amigos session. So for those that aren't familiar with it, it refers to the teams looking at the problem under 3 different perspectives. So the business, what is the problem we're trying to do? And then looking at development, how might we build a solution to solve that problem? And then testing, what about this? What could happen in this instance? We primarily use the 3 amigos to build that common understanding that was lacking. But they were great to look at it retrospectively too, in order to gauge what was delivered versus the original expectation. And I think that's often a misconception with the 3 amigos. A lot of it is beforehand, whereas actually if you use it retrospectively, it's a great way of doing something. We placed a definition of ready for each of the features, the parents. Do we have the right balance of understanding and information prior to actually starting the work? We didn't want to solutionize too much up front, but there was an element of, have we got the correct level of information across all aspects in order to be confident to start that work? So yeah, and this common understanding was such a great benefit, and conducting the sprint reviews and the sprint planning sessions, we already knew many of the challenges that we'd faced. We'd already answered them effectively and addressed, and we had a little bit of a flexible plan in place to tackle them. by bringing in something like that 3 amigos, so we'd look to address all aspects of those 3 C's that I mentioned. We communicate the why, we get the right people together, and we commit to the challenge and allow some of the breathing space for the bigger picture. So whilst not a organizational change, the impact of having that change allowed for the teams and the stakeholders to have a greater understanding of the work that was being done.
Yeah, absolutely. Although you said it was not an organizational change, when I think about it, and of course I don't know the details, when I think about it, I think that when a process like the 3 amigos or a practice like the 3 amigos is introduced, there is one aspect which is process, right? Like there's a new part of the process, whatever that is. But at the same time, there's also a set of expectations that are changed, right? For example, there's more responsibility on the people that are in the 3 amigos session than there would be otherwise. There's also the need to make sure that it happens, right? This obviously, when you first set up a 3 amigos session, it will happen, but maybe the second time is not so easy to make it happen if you haven't proven the value yet, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, I see that there's, expectations, workload, relationship between people. At least my own experience is that it becomes at least somewhat of an organizational change.
Yeah, I suppose when you put it that way, definitely. But it wasn't a case of we were going in to change the organization. I think that was as a byproduct of doing something like the 3 amigos. Essentially, the change was for the teams that to build that common understanding. And I suppose you're right that once that does grow and everybody can see the value, then it does kind of morph into an organizational change at that point.
And that aspect, I think, is one that I believe that we as Scrum Masters need to learn to engage and take advantage of, because sometimes very small changes can have large impacts because they bring along a certain number of adaptations around that practice, right? So, for example, the 3 amigos session, I imagine that it changed the outlook that product owners had on the work that developers and QAs had. It changed the outlook that QAs had on the work that developers and product owners did in order to clarify the requirements, et cetera, because they were now part of it, right? Like they couldn't say, well, somebody else wrote the requirements. No, the 3 amigos is so that actually the 3 people define what the requirements are, at least in preparation of the refinement meeting. So
exactly, yeah.
So it does bring along a certain number of changes that are, as a consequence, the 3 amigos session, but also kind of this, I think, at least this is my own experience, I think it brings the ability to collaborate to a higher degree, right? Because now they are part of it. They are not like, for example, QA is not downstream from what PM decides or product owner decides. They are part of that decision. Exactly,
and that's one of the C's that I've talked about, that collaborate, that it encourage everyone to be involved and become part of that change, and strengthens that commitment, to the change, and increases the buy-in that we've mentioned, that everybody is part of that. So the more we collaborate, the more transparent we have these things, then everyone's going to be involved, and that's only a benefit for the teams.
Yeah, and the last part that I think is perhaps implicit here is that the change of the introducing the 3 amigos has the organizational impact, but it also has a cultural impact. Mm-hmm. And I'm reminded of the phrase, like you can't think your way into a new way of acting. You have to act your way into a new way of thinking. Right. And I think that 3 amigos practice is a great example of something concrete and pragmatic that will actually change people's thought, i.e. culture, of how they interact with each other and how they build common knowledge, understanding, collaboration, and so on.
Exactly. And that was another huge benefit of it, that it was, that mindset shift and a small cultural change as well.
Absolutely. A great story. Thank you for sharing that, Robbie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hi there, Agile friends. Thank you for sticking around to know more about this year's Agile Online Summit. The summit will have 4 keynotes and 4 tracks you will not want to miss. The keynotes will touch on critical topics for us, from delivering on time to helping you to focus on sustainability. The 4 tracks are tools, so we'll focus on tools you need to excel at your job, but also your mission. We'll also have a track on sustainability, which is, of course, about people and their sustainable pace, but it's also about how do we bring sustainability to the products and the planet we inhabit. We'll have a 3rd track about happiness, talking about doing what we love and, most crucially, loving what we do. And finally, the 4th track will be live. It will be mostly hands-on sessions to help you roll up your sleeves together with the presenters. Oh, and we will also have a coaching clinic, as we usually do, organized to help you discuss and get inspired to solve the hardest challenges you face at work. This year, we'll have a special emphasis on interaction with your peers, so get your ticket and join the Slack at bit.ly/AOS 2022. As always, we have free tickets for anyone that wants to attend live, and the VIP tickets for those of you who want to keep the videos forever. So check them out at bit.ly/AOS 2022. I'll see you on the conference floor. Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role, we'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.